What is consciousness? The live stream of consciousness is on a quest to unravel the mysteries of existence. Every episode, we ask the fundamental question that has captivated human minds for centuries. Is consciousness merely a product of our brains, or does it connect us to something greater? Explore the very fabric of our thoughts. Don't miss a moment. Expand your awareness and tap into the boundless potential that resides within you. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness.
Yes. Hello and welcome to the live stream of consciousness. I love Jesse's enthusiasm in his VO. Every time I hear it, it makes me smile. That's right. You're at the live stream of consciousness. You are in this moment with me, Michael Zinn. I am intentionally here every Thursday. It is September 21st. Holy moly, it's almost the end of the year. I can't even believe it. I'm intentionally here to create a moment where I have a great conversation with somebody who is interesting to me for one reason or another, and I share it with you, and we all connect in the moment of intention, and it's like a happy thing. So welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm excited about tonight because it's going to be a little different for me. Anyway, I have never really been too much of a politics kind of guy. I mean, certainly I'm not unaware of what's going on and the different things that happen in politics. And I certainly have concerns about political issues. You know, when someone says I'm not into politics, it doesn't mean they put their head in the sand and they just don't care. But, you know, I'm not really super happy with the choices out there. So that's one of the reasons I'm excited about tonight's guest, because tonight's guest is actually one of the alternative choices out there. I am going to be privileged and honored to be speaking to a presidential candidate. That is right. I'm very excited about that. I came across this gentleman through the Q for You guys, who you've seen on this podcast, and whose podcast I've been on. And I figured one of the things I like to do here that you see me do all the time is kind of find common ground. And I said, that's a great opportunity. I'm gonna have this guy on, and I'm gonna have a great conversation. So get ready for spirituality meets politics in this episode of the live stream of consciousness, as I welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Larry Azevedo to the show. Welcome, Larry.
Hey, how you doing? How's everybody
doing
doing tonight? Good.
How are you doing?
Oh, hanging in there.
Yeah.
Every day.
I love that you are kind of immersing yourself in social media and just kind of getting out there any way you can and doing my show, which you know, it seems kind of like not a show a politician would do, but I love the fact that you just want to get out there, you want to talk to people, you want the chance for people to see that there's not just two choices out there, which is what everybody seems to believe these days. So welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show tonight. I appreciate it. And yeah, I like to reach out. I like to get different opinions across. That's why I've done it. Even, you know, I'll go in this. Some people don't do, well, my show's not about politics, but that's not really what I know. I just want to know what kind of person you are. What do you do? What are your thoughts on this or that? It doesn't have to be political. It's just, how are you doing in your life? And what's the concerns in your family, your neighborhood? You know, just to get that connection of for the moment of how people really are, and, you know, and how they feel just in life in general about consciousness.
I love that. You know, and that's something I love about this show, is just being able to talk to so many different people. And, you know, we really are, we're all human, right? So we're all the same, but we're all having a different experience. So it's like talking to somebody different about what their experience is, and really getting to just meld the two. You know, it's just that
Absolutely.
moment. We've got Tim in Brazil who is saying, "Hola, Larry." He's one of my regular listeners out there. Always, he brings the international flavor. He's in Brazil sometimes, he's in America sometimes, but anyway. So this is the live stream of consciousness. I've got some of my own business to take care of with you before we get into what you're here for, and that is obviously to tell us who you are and, you know, what your plans are. But my first question to my guest is always kind of just get us on the same playing field, and that is, what is consciousness? What is consciousness to you, Larry?
Well, consciousness to me is just being open, free-minded, being able to go and think and go about your business and do what you naturally feel like doing. You know, that way you could and explore and check out things that you don't necessarily get to do. You know, and then whenever you get that moment, whether you're from break from work or you've got a little spot on the weekend, that you explore these different ideas in these different directions, and just to explore into your mind, well, what about this or what about that? And just always have that willingness to always learn or to do something new. It brings more excitement, whether you're meeting somebody new or you're reading about a new product or you're doing something different or learning about your earth or your atmosphere. That would just be like, I guess you'd call it like an infinity consciousness, I guess, to where you never get enough. You always want more, and you just the thrive for life to, all right, how conscious can we really be? Is there too much consciousness or is there not enough? And I believe there's not enough of it as far as the average person could go and seek and get into it.
I like what you're saying. So consciousness, you're saying, is kind of like the desire to continue to learn and grow and experience what you haven't experienced.
Right, things around you, just right, correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a great answer. I love that. I do believe that's right in line with the things that we talk about here all the time. Very cool. So this one's going to be an interesting one, and only because I feel like again, there's kind of like these mainstream beliefs, and then there are kind of other beliefs outside of that. So and it's not as complex as it sounds, but I'm talking about things like believing in spirits, believing in paranormal things, believing in energy. So we talk about energy here. I mentioned to you before the show, one of my philosophies is that everything is made of energy. We are energetic. We convey energy to each other as we're talking to each other, whether it be a good energy, a loving energy, or a negative energy. I think everything is based on that. We've never had any discussions about that, so I don't know what your spiritual beliefs are. Do you have a story or a memory that might dictate what those beliefs are? Like, in other words, let's say you possibly do believe in ghosts. Is there a story or something? Not ghosts, I don't want to say
Oh,
ghosts, but
absolutely.
spirit.
When loved ones or a good friend or something, unfortunately, dies too young or in a car accident, I've had them come and visit me and actually, tell me bye. It scared the bejesus out of you, to tell you the truth. I mean, just because we were such good friends and so connected, and then we believe it happened. You know what I mean? As far as I'm concerned, wasn't drinking, I wasn't on no drugs, I was completely straight. I was at work, and it had happened, and it seems like it was just before we was going to the it happened, and then we're getting ready for the funeral and in the wake and all that, and then I was at work, and then they came in like a person walking through the door. Came in, say hi, how you doing? Well, I'm going on a journey. I'm going to be gone for a while, and told me goodbye. They loved me, and yeah, it was,
Wow.
it was, yeah.
I see you getting a little emotional there, and
I mean, it is because like, whew. My face, I got all, I got really red, like hot inside, and I kind of lost my breath, and I had to go outside, and I started looking for this person. I'm like, they're not dead yet, and this just happened, and I'm looking, I'm screaming out their name, and they went on to heaven, and we went on with that, and that was that. But yeah, that really happened. And I don't tell a lot of people that, but you asked, because what I do tell, I tell my close friends, and they'll say, you were drinking, or you was paranoid, or was freaking out, or because she was, because it just happened.
Right.
I said, whatever. I said, you weren't there. I said, I wish I would have had at least video or record the sound. You couldn't see nothing, but you can sure hear it all. But anyway, there it is. There, it does happen. Believe it or not,
that's true. You know what? It's
hard to prove, but it's true.
I'm so glad that you shared that with me. Thank you so much, because that is exactly what I'm asking. And
Yeah.
I just want to say hello to the quiet healer out there saying hello. But so again, I'm so happy that you said that, and that you, not only that you shared the experience, but the way that you are conveying that it happened.
Yeah.
Like you know, there's
It
no
still
there's
affects
no
me to
doubt.
this day. If I think about it, it gets you really emotional and hot and bothered. But
Absolutely,
because
absolutely.
it does happen. Oh, and I can't explain it, but it is what it is,
Right.
and
So again,
it's just
here,
energy.
yeah, exactly. Here in the live stream of consciousness, that's what we talk about, energy,
Right.
and people's, we talk about the idea of a soul, right? And
Right.
again, we don't have to go too deep into that kind of stuff.
Right.
Um,
Absolutely.
but I think experiences like you just conveyed are where
Hmm.
people are like, okay, maybe there is something to this, more than we are taught in school, and more than we kind of deal with on a
Absolutely.
day-to-day basis, because we don't have to deal with that on a day-to-day basis,
You know, and I believe that this happens a lot more than people care to share. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Because they don't want to be embarrassed or accused that they're crazy or that they're mentally
Right.
disturbed. So I believe that a lot of people keep that to themselves, and it happens more than we know. And
So
and
yeah.
reach out to people and to go to sites like yours and to say it's okay to speak about this. We don't think you're crazy. We believe, you believe, I believe that these things do happen. It's part of our energy. It's part of our human beings. That's how
Mhm.
we were created. Okay, we were
Mhm.
created from the first place. So, absolutely,
So
it does
so
happen.
how did that affect you? How did that experience affect you? Do you said it affects you even till this day, you think
It
about it.
makes you
So
absolutely. It makes you love more. Makes you be more aware, more consciousness to to always make sure you kiss your kids, make sure your wife, regardless if you're arguing or not, or
Mhm.
whatever, a friend or neighbor,
Mhm.
always make sure that you leave on a good level. You know what I mean? Even if you're arguing or whatever, you put your different sides. Say, all right, well, work this out later. Just take care, and we'll figure it out later. But always just don't take nothing for granted. Make sure you do all you can for yourself and your community around you because you never know when he calls your name.
Yeah, totally, totally. And Tim is saying he had a very similar experience. I think, like you said, I think we've all had similar experiences, when a loved one, somebody close to us leaves. I think, again, going back to that idea of energy, being an energetic soul, having a lifetime with somebody, that energy becomes a part of you, you know what I mean? So,
Absolutely.
you
Hmm.
can, I think that's what the metaphysical, side of things is all about. People who believe that they can actually, tap into that and conjure that when they want to. And I believe all sorts of things, you know what I mean? I've seen things, and I believe that there are people who, I can't deny anybody else's experience, right? If
Right.
somebody is saying that that's what they feel, and the experience you just conveyed again is like, you had that experience, so you can't really doubt other people's experiences.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
that's great. All right, so fair enough. I don't want to push anymore. I see, that I love the fact that you got a little emotional there. I'm sorry that you did, but
Yeah.
I it's I think emotions are great. I think that, that's part of getting in touch with that energy, right? That cosmic
Right.
energy inside
Well, it
yourself.
makes it like brings you back to that day almost, and then especially the way it happened.
Yeah.
So, but we know it. She's in a better place, and
Yeah.
it was time. She was pretty old, so she lived
Right.
a good life. It was
Right.
just her way, the energy, the connection, the bond, if you will.
Right.
So
Well, I'm glad
it's
that you
all
got that closure. Yeah, I'm glad that you got that
absolutely
closure.
right, right,
Absolutely. So, enough with my business. Let's talk about you, and let's talk about why I'm excited to talk to a politician, which I don't think I've ever been excited to do before. But in this day and age, again, I mentioned, like, I feel like people say, "Oh, I don't want that guy. Let's get the other guy back," or just talking about the situation in the country, like there's only two choices. And the fact that you came into my field, I was so excited because I'm like, wait, there are more than two choices, and people just don't think about it, or even, put enough effort into it. So let's
right.
talk about that. How did you, I know that you grew up very responsible. We were talking about that, and we can talk about that. I would love for you to tell your story about how you grew up. I think that's a good campaign right there.
Yep.
You know, how you grew up and how you got to where you are. So start at the beginning. Let's go with
You
what you
better
were
believe
talking
it.
about. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, my name's Larry Azevedo. I'm from California, the central San Joaquin Valley, right in the middle of California. I come from a single parent home. My mom raised me and my two brothers. My dad split when I was young. That's just the way it is. She was too proud for welfare. She made her living going to local auction yards, buying farm animals, cattle, goats, sheep, pig, and other animals. Brought them home for her and her boys to raise. That's right. We had to feed and take care of them 7 days a week, and even before and after school. That's right. And not only that, she made us get into 4-H, and we also trained and showed them. The brown Swiss cattle was their favorite. Trained them, named them. We showed them throughout the San Joaquin Valley. We even went up to Palos, where they showed the largest, biggest shows in California. Sacramento, Fresno, Merced, Los Banos, all the little local fairs. Won many trophies and ribbons along the way. Absolutely. It put into us, the value of hard work, dedication. And when you train an animal or you train yourself, it pays off. And anyway, through that, we finished up in 4-H, then we got into FFA into high school, did the same thing. And then after that, graduated high school, started working around the cotton gins around here because that's what there was to do. So we started as a yard man, watering down the yard. So, all right, what else? Then I started pulling the cotton trailers. Anyway, within 3 years, I moved all the way up to head pressman and assistant ginner. I was making and weighing the cotton bales for our local farmers. That's right. You better believe it. Didn't take me long to move up. And then that only lasted about 3 months. And after that, I went into the tomatoes, started working in the tomato season, just before cotton season. So then after that in the winter, then I had some time left over, and I was still young and ambitious. Did that for a few years, and unemployment wasn't good, and I had too much time on my hands. I would get in trouble in off season because I wasn't busy, and I said, I'm young, I don't need to be, going. I had a hot rod. I was burning rubber, racing cars, doing that thing, and it was getting me a lot of tickets and in trouble, because I'm just a good old boy having fun. So anyway, I said, I need to stop this. Too many tickets. So I said, all right, I'm going to better my education. So I said, all right, I'm going to go to a technical and trade school. So I split to Arizona, got out of here, got out of the trouble, went over to Arizona, went to school for 2 years, 1 year in auto and 1 year in diesel. I got my associate's degree in the auto diesel industry. Came back. Well, that old barn, we used to raise them animals in. Well, the animals were gone because their boys were raised, right? So anyhow, I said, Mom, let me put my new trade to practice. I said, let me clean out that old barn, build a shop here. I want to start working on cars, trucks, whatever. I can fix everything. I'm certified. Let's do this. So I lit that barn. I poured my own cement. My brothers helped me. We put some plywood up, painted it. We fixed it up. So I start working on cars, trucks. And so anyway, one day on the way to town, I seen some old fertilizer trucks for sale where they spread manure in the field for farmers. Okay. So they were old and beat up. This farmer had them. He was old. He was tired. The trucks were tired, but I knew how to fix them. So I went and talked to my brothers, my mom. Hey, there's some old trucks beat up down there. I said, they're worth saving. I said, I can do all the work, fix them right here in this shop. So they thought about it for a few days. They said, all right. So we bought those 2 trucks and brought them home, and I worked on them for months. Bearings and engine parts and paint and fenders, you name it. Poured them in and made them like brand new again. So we went out and started spreading manure for the farmers. And then we had to get an old loader as well. We picked up this old bucket loader and fixed it up, painted it. And then one truck after another, season after season, truck after truck. Then after about 5 years, we had a pretty good fleet of trucks and some money left over and we invested. And that's in 2008 when Obama was in the White House. That's when that big housing crash hit. So they had houses around here. People were beating them up and leaving them because they were dropping right out of their mortgages. So we went into the rentals. So we started buying rentals and fixing them up. So I turned the trucks over to my brothers. And then me and my mom We dove into the rental business head first. I didn't know nothing about houses. I knew everything about cars and trucks and automobiles and how to fix them and get them going. So I took that same knowledge of how to fix things and dove right into houses. So I become an electrician. I become a plumber. I become a roofer. I become a handyman. Dove right in, started fixing house after house. You better believe it. And anyway, back up just a tiny bit. When 9/11 hit, that's what sparked my interest in politics. Okay. So as this is going, the trucks transitioning, and that hit, I was thinking, well, how could that happen? What did we do anything to cause this? You know, and who did it? Why? What could we done differently? So I learned, that's what started. So I learned, you know, got all nosy and learned, okay, what about this? Well, all the leaders at the time, and then the people that did it, learned about it. And then it kind of went on, and then kind of left it at that. And then I said, oh, then I got into the rentals and then people's problems. I said, well, this kind of affects everybody. So then I started learning more about it. So then I started learning about the economy, education, our climate, infrastructure, immigration, Social Security. It was just, I wanted to, you know, like the cuts, I wanted to learn more. I wanted to learn how come there's a problem in this area? How come there's a problem in that area? So I just kept going, you know, one problem after another. And so stayed after it and kept going. And so that's what drove my interest and getting me to where I'm here today. But anyway, we ended up getting like way over 100 rentals. I've just done it. We just done it house after house after house. And we kept investing. And we rent cheaper than anybody else right now. The rent is sky high, California. We rent a couple $100 cheaper than anybody. Number one, because it's hard times. Number two, because we care about people. We don't want them to tear up the home. We want them to stay there where they're at. They don't complain a lot. They take care of the place. And you don't have to be, because every time somebody moves out, you got to repair it. You got to overhaul it. And when people get mad and angry, they tend to tear up things more than if they were not happy, you know, and really regular. See what I mean? So these people, we treat them like family. A lot of them work for us. So they're happy where they're at. It's an affordable place to live. So it grows, it builds this community connection because you care about people. You're not just here to price gouge and rip one off. You're here to work alongside them, take care, provide them a job if you got them, provide a home if you got it, and work and share through our problems. And then you can see all the other problems around, like the immigration issue and how the right side is really hard on them. And you know, they don't understand them coming here, and you know, they don't want them here, and they pick on them all the time. So through this whole process, that's what got me involved in doing all this. It's because of my job, because of what I've done, and because of what our leaders have done. So this whole idea, all of it together, is what influenced me and got me here to this day with you. So basically, that's my story in a nutshell, right there.
That's a really, I think a really beautiful nutshell. Yeah, it's like, you know, the kind of person that you feel like you would want to run for president, somebody who knows what it's like to get their hands dirty and was able to go from, you know, hungry and needing to work to abundant and like an entrepreneur. You know, you were able to take everything that you learned and, you know, make it work for yourself. And along the way, you know, learn about people and care about people. That's what it sounds like to me. Helen, I've got Helen out there, and she says, Larry, you seem like such a nice man. Aren't you afraid being president will break your heart? That's an interesting question. But I think that's kind of your mission is you know, what's breaking your heart is the current situation.
Right. That's because I care a lot about, I love my country. It's a shame what's happening to it. You know, I love my family. I love my friend. I love my neighborhood. Love my community. And it's terrible what they're doing to it. You know, they're selling out our independence. The main thing with our country, the number one issue, we just simply do not invest enough in our country. We invest less than $1 trillion a year, believe it or not. We bring in over 26 trillion in gross domestic sales every year. That's trillions of dollars. Yes, that's right. And we used to, about 5 administrations back, we used to spend about 2.5% investing in our country. Right now, it's less than 1%. See, that's the problem. We need to be investing at least 2.5 trillion every year. That money's going straight to Beijing and a small handful of countries. Okay, they're not building the products and services here no more. We used to be the largest trader of over 120 different countries. Okay.
Right.
Now, and China was 60, the largest trader in the 90s. Now,
Wow.
China's the largest trader of 120 different countries.
Right.
And the United States is only the largest trader in 60 countries. See, we've fallen over half. That's
Sure.
the big problem.
Yeah.
And I'm not worried about your china, your household dishes, your lamps, your clothes, and all those other things. I'm worried about our things that keep us alive, our medication, okay, our communication, our cell phones, our computers, and our renewable energy grid, the new one, because we're going to be transitioning to a lot of electrical vehicles. Well, the majority of that is made over in China. Okay. You shouldn't have to depend on somebody that's making your medication you need. We need that day and night, or your communications to talk to people, or your computers to get on, or your transportation to drive back and forth to work. Those are the things I'm worried about. Those are the things we need to make right here. It's very important, because whether it's another COVID outbreak, or look at the war in Ukraine. What if that war was with China? What do you think would happen to our medicine right now? We're only 330 million people. There's 8 billion people on the planet. China's big enough. They don't need us anymore. They can control our medicine. They can cut us off overnight, just like that, at the snap of a switch. There goes your medication. There goes your communication. There goes your computer. There goes your new renewable energy grid and all your electric field, because they cornered the market on the electrical batteries. They're making 75% of them, and they have no quality control. They last 2 or 3 or 4 years as soon as they get them off the car lot, and they burn up. We need to make those batteries right here, not only for provide our independence, because it's a national security threat, first and foremost, because of our medicine and transportation. We need to get to work, and we need to take our medicine. That's just a fact of life. And they have sold us out. Those things have to be brung back here, put the pharmaceuticals in, put the renewable energy factors in, the products and services. Let's do that. And we slowly reach out, and we can still buy the other stuff. I don't care about the refrigerated one and all that other.
Right. Yeah.
We
No,
don't
it's
need that to
interesting
survive
what
on.
you're saying. Yeah, it's interesting what you're saying. It makes sense. I wish I was more qualified, to talk statistics and kind of what's going on with national policies and stuff. I mean, it sounds to me like, again, those issues were important enough to you that you dug into those issues to see what was going on, and you've kind of come up with your conclusions, and you're acting on that. And again, it sounds like the people is what's important, right? Which is what everybody would want in a politician, that you're concentrating on the people, not corporations, just the economy and how things are going. I think in telling your story, we got a bit of your credentials, quote unquote, but we have Hetty Mandel out there, who happens to be my mom, who's saying asking what your credentials are. Now, again, I feel like you gave us your story, and it's a great story. Again, I think that's like an American dream, right? That's the story you would want to hear. That's the kind of person you would want to lead, who understands all of the trials and tribulations. So I guess she may be asking more like
I can answer that. Right. Yeah. The credentials is being out there, doing the work, seeing the problems, and coming up with solutions. Okay. Look at your current leadership in Washington on either side of the row. Now, this is her. Look at their credentials. Look at Biden's been there since he was 30. Okay. And Trump, he's been in Washington all his life. It's not like he was never connected to them. He just never went for office. Look at both sides of their credentials, what they did, and look at the current condition we're having. So whether you got credentials up there or you got these credentials, hands-on experience, there's no difference. It's how you actually, when you get into office and you apply, it's not so much about what you know. It's about how much you care about what you know. Okay. And what they know, they don't care about enough what they know to do to make policy changes, you see, because they're being paid by corporates and special interest groups to lean corporate way and then to go into their route. And there's so credentials would be hands-on experience, to experience the problems day in and day out through a lot of years, and to come up with solutions that are better. And I'm just saying, we need to lean a little bit more for our dependents, and anybody can understand with this medication, transportation, communication. you can understand. And you could look this up. These aren't lies. You can Google it. You can go do your own research, and you'll find out where the majority of pharmaceuticals. I'm not giving it to you straight. I'm a straight shooter. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. You can look these are facts. These are government facts. There's this. So that's the idea. People don't get out and research this and understand. And that's why you see them arguing back and forth. They're shining a bunch of shiny objects. Oh, Trump did this, or Biden did that. They're not talking about rebuilding our infrastructure. They're not talking about making things better. They're just arguing back and forth. They're really not. Okay, well, let's bring 5% more pharmaceuticals, next year or the next administration. Let's bring 10% the year after that. You know what I mean? It ain't going to happen overnight. You're going to do slow percentage changes. But anyway, that answered it back to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love that you're making me kind of think politically here a little bit. And Tim is even saying it. I like what you're saying, and me too. I love what you're saying. But how would you go about doing it? What are your ideas and policies to achieve them? So let's just say specifically, we're talking about what you said, like we're not investing enough back into the country, and we're allowing certain critical manufacturing outside of the country, which should be inside of the country. How would you go about doing that, bringing that manufacturing back into the country?
Well, first, you can't just expect corporations to pay 35% tax, because that's what ran them out in the first place. That's why they all got out of here, and that's why they all hid their money overseas. And that's why a majority of them are building and making everything else, because the government was too hard on them. Okay, we got to get it back to where, okay, if you're going to build and you're going to invest right here, you can't be charging them a lot of taxes. You got to give them tax breaks and more incentives for the pharmaceuticals, for the renewable energy. You have to provide a pathway. Okay. And then on the ones that continue to do business outside the US, you want to be a little bit harder on them. You know what I mean? Because we want to influence them. All right, let's start to bring that back over here. Let's start to build and secure. Let's get our own supply going. Let's get our own storage going. That way, by doing your own supply and your own storage, it's going to provide lots of good paying jobs. It's going to provide the products we need on a daily basis. And not only that, you're going to be able to control the price more. See, right now, you can't control the price because we're not making the stuff. We're not storing the stuff. Somebody else is making and storing the stuff, especially if a war broke out or if a COVID outbreak or just a plain old shortage. China and Russia is going to get the majority of the medicine and the vaccines first. You know this. In a shortage or a COVID outbreak, the U.S. is going to be the last one to receive. They're going to make sure their people taken care of first. Everybody around them. We're on the last end of getting anything from them, and at their prices. So, like I said, this don't happen overnight. You would start, and you would go in there and you write your legislation and policy, and you would like I said, every year there'd be pharmaceuticals made and putting in different states. I believe every state should have their own, but then maybe that's not feasible. So maybe like every 3 or 4 states, get 3 or 4 states together, like say California, Nevada, Arizona, something, and maybe they put a large pharmaceutical company together somewhere in there. That way you're not shipping everything, across, because shipping costs money and you have to move it. So bundles of states within the region there, and just break that across our nation. That way you'll have your pharmaceutical companies and your renewable energy factories within this area. Hire people right here. You got the product assortments here. And then you lump these across our nation. And that's just a plan. It's just a good plan to have. So, that's how you build things. Just like they're going and building somewhere else.
Sure. No. And again, as somebody who doesn't really know and doesn't, I'm not familiar with these conversations.
Right.
I can certainly understand what you're saying about incentives to, to bring manufacturing here by lowering the taxes here and maybe raising the taxes for people who are still doing it outside.
Right.
So those things I understand.
Absolutely.
I mean, from again being outside of politics, it seems like corporations get a lot of breaks on taxes, and that's again another topic of discussion. But let's talk about the people, right? So I know for me, and I know a lot of talk that I'm hearing now because it's political season is, taxes, right? Just in general on people. So you work and you make a wage, and that money is taxed, and then you go to buy something and that's taxed. So, the whole idea, and I'm sure you've heard this, that, it's just taxed and taxed and taxed and taxed. What about that kind of break for the general public?
Well, yeah, we need to try to cut taxes. It's hard to cut taxes to still be able to grow and build. At least slow the rate of climb. Okay, you know what I mean? As things go up. So whenever price increases, we need to slow the rate. We need to pull back on the taxes, and just when they do raise, you don't raise them as much as they're doing. They're just gotten too ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
See what I mean? They need to put limits back into place where they're only raised every so many years. Right now, it seems like every time they move the minimum wage, for instance, then they'll turn around and they raise the taxes on us. So every time the people try to get more money for minimum wage so they can pay their rent, so they can pay their bills, buy groceries, and get their mortgage paid, then somebody turns around and they raise the taxes. So it just keeps us squashed down.
No progress. Right.
There's no progress being made. Exactly. So you got to be able to work with the people on that. It's just all about getting the other side to come with you. When it happens in Congress, we just need to cut a little bit, give the workers a little bit more tax break, get them a little bit more write-offs, especially people with a lot of kids, family members. They're trying to raise them up. The groceries went up over $300 just a week alone. You could see, and that has a lot to do with consumer protections. You know what I mean? They used to only let it go up 10% a year. Now that you see that price gouging went 30-40% because those protections are no longer in place.
Right.
Corporations have slowly let Congress remove them because they're corrupted. If you look back years ago in the administration, as they done things, they didn't allow that. They only let them charge so much for gas and so much for food year in and year out back then. Nowadays, you don't see that. It's just sporadic. They're basically doing
I don't remember,
because we got to eat, we got to drive, we got to go to work, and they know this. So.
No, and I gotta say, I can't remember a time where it seemed like, inflation was always like a fact of life, right? But it seems like in the past couple of years, it's just, the cost of living has become so unattainable almost, you know what I mean? Even on a regular basis, I know a lot of people who are living week to week, and that's just a scary place to be.
Absolutely.
And I'm not really, again, I'm not super qualified to talk to you about this. I don't really even know what flat tax is. So we have Tim saying, are you a flat tax supporter? What is flat tax? Explain that to me.
Well, that's what they say. Let's go in there and pay a flat tax on what we do. And it's not really clear enough. And that's why they really ain't went that far with it. And I know it's not really good because they didn't really explain what the flat tax is and where it's gonna end up at. You know what I'm saying?
Just like a set fee, you just pay a set
fee. Right. And then what that does is you set that fee because of the income qualities of the different, because you make so much here and then the next person, it's going to end up like it is now because people ain't going to pay the flat tax because then if you're making $1 million, $2 million, you see what I mean? You're only paying a flat tax. You see, you won't be held.
Right. It's not really fair. Right.
It's not really fair for the lower end for people that make a minimum wage. People that make $50,000 a year, $75,000.
Yeah.
A flat tax would benefit. It would benefit the more of the higher ups.
Right.
The more the rich, basically the super rich.
Right. I want to bring this up. I don't want to get too much into a debate or any of that. But Hetty is bringing up a point from earlier when you were talking about this, and I think this was before you talked about kind of some of the things that you'd had. But I have to disagree with this. President Biden has done very much to change policies. He's bringing manufacturing back to this country. It's very hard to change policy when half the country is working against you. So again, I'm really not familiar enough to know specifically to defend Biden and say, well, Biden did this and brought back. But I know Hetty is a big Biden supporter, so I'm imagining that comes from there.
Yeah.
She is also saying, though, it's good to hear from other people. So I know she's happy that you're running.
True. Yeah, it's part true. He has brung some back, but nowhere near what we need. You can see where he went in. He did bring it in, and even in the same speech, you listen to some of his speeches back then. He even admitted it himself. we're not investing enough. He knows that. He even said we're not investing enough here. And anyway, the production he's bringing is nowhere near the scale that it needs to be. So yeah, it's true what he's doing, but it's a hit and miss, and it's just not enough at all. It's just enough to get news in the headlines, but it's just not enough. There's not enough there to go around. It's not high enough. They have more jobs and more products go out of our nation every year. That's just a fact of life. You figure just on a rough scale, probably 90% out and maybe 10% in, maybe, as far as that. And why don't it be 50-50? Why can't we do 50% build here and 50% out there? Why does it have to be 90-95 out and 5 or 10% here? Why can't we move that number? Let's do a 50-50, or get 35% or 40%.
Well, again, not really knowing too much about the situation. I mean, I imagine that manufacturing is usually, outsourced because it's cheaper. So, again, I know that's kind of what you mentioned as part of the solution was don't make it so cheap for people who are outsourcing, kind of tax those people more, I guess, or.
And that there's a lot of myth behind that. Okay. When they say outsourcing is cheaper, look, whether you got an automated robot factory in Beijing or some other foreign country, or you got an automated robot corporation in this country, it does not cost anymore. That's a big myth because a lot of it's automated. Okay. So the outsourcing, that's just a big lie because it's going to probably even be cheaper to run it here because we own the electrical plants and make our own energy and infrastructure. So it doesn't cost you any more to run a robotic plant here making products and services than it does anywhere else. Yes, China uses slave labor, okay, and they pay their laborers a little bit cheaper, probably. Okay, you might save a little bit on that because American workers, they want a little more because the cost of living is a little more. So yeah, the price might go up on the product a little bit, but you'd be putting American people to work and you'd be building American products and you'd be securing our national security and the things we need. So it does come with a cost, but you'll be able to control that cost because you'll be able to keep an eye and be able to control your medicine, your renewables. You'll be able to keep those prices in check. In other words, you'll be able to control the price 5-10%, plus the quality of the product being made. You'll assure quality control. And also you'll be able to control the price year in, year out. You won't be price gouged when there's a shortage or when you get run out at all. So there's a lot to it.
Yeah, my brain is going a million miles an hour right now because there's so many things I want to talk about, but I definitely don't want to get too deep and sticky into things. You know what I mean?
There's a lot to it out here. There's a lot of hats and there's a lot of problems. Don't get me wrong. There's a ton of work to this, and it takes years and months. It took me months just to write the policies. If you go to my speech section, scroll past the videos. I wrote those policies myself. I didn't have nobody write those. I wrote those in my own hand.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
There's 20 of them. Scroll past, go to the speeches section, scroll past the videos, and you can see them. They're long. It'll take you over an hour to read all 20 of them. They're long and lengthy, and they're very detailed. But anyway.
That's really, that's why you're here. And I'm even though you've got it on your avatar there, I'm going to put it up at the bottom of the screen. Hetty, if you want to see these policies, go take a look. Larry just said that they're at his website, and you can see them all. He wrote them himself. I mean, again, I feel like I'm not really qualified. I don't follow it close enough to know, hey, this guy did this and this guy did this. I know that I have my own feelings about corporations and
absolutely.
even all of these things, but I do feel like we need to work together, and that's the only way it's going to get any better, and it can't be any more of this. It just I have a lot of friends who I work with who are Republicans, and again, I don't view people as you're a Republican and you're a Democrat, but when their conversation is you hear things like, oh, you see what those Democrats are doing, all I hear is division. I don't hear anything human in that at all, because you're not looking at a person. You're looking at like a preconceived set of beliefs, which may or may not even be accurate. right? When you're saying, oh, you're a Democrat, so therefore you
Yeah.
think this, they're assuming what you think, or even the other way, you're a Republican and you think this. I think for me, I think we all need to take more accountability into who we are and worry less about what other people are, and just know that regardless of what they are, we're all in this together. We're
Yep.
all on this planet together. Even let's take away Republicans and Democrats. United States and Chinese and Russians, we're all on this planet together. We're all humans.
Hmm.
We've got to figure out a way to all work together, bigger than just the United States, right? Just
Absolutely.
bigger than just the
And
presidency.
absolutely, I go over that in my foreign policy. It tells you how we need to do more with other countries. We need to stop being a bully and stop being so mean and rude. We need to be more friendly and open
Mhm,
and go in there and be able to negotiate a lot better. We're not very good at being with friends and working with other foreign countries. They got a handful of their
mhm,
favorites and that's
mhm,
it. And the
mhm,
rest of them, they say, oh, well, we don't need you. We don't want to work with you, you know? And then that breeds terrorism because those
mhm,
people need medicine and food. And anytime you deny a country help or aid, okay, they're forced to go to China or Russia or a bigger terrorist organization. Hey, we need food. We need medicine for our kids. Okay.
mhm,
So,
mhm,
all right, well, then you're going to have to pick up a gun. You're going to have to go soldier for us. Okay. Well, that's a deal. We get to eat. We got medicine. We get to stay alive. So,
mhm,
so these practices not only creates global inequality, but it also causes crime. It causes terrorism. Okay,
mhm,
because of the policies of Washington, because of all these, causes poverty, causes homelessness. All these have a direct impact not only on us but the rest of the people around the world. And I would say to that, we need to go to some of these countries and start helping them with their infrastructure. They put down
mhm,
their arms, help them, help them put in a dam so they can farm. Okay, store, build
mhm.
water, have electricity, get them some tractors. Okay, put their wells in so they can start farming, building their
Sure.
own products, pharmaceuticals.
Right.
And that's the only way you're going to help curb terrorism or at least limit it until you tackle it head on and start working with some of these smaller countries
Right.
because that's just the way it is.
Well,
Yep.
so what it sounds like is a very expensive proposition, right? So all of the things you're talking about that will help the United States, and now the things you're talking about, foreign policies, these things are all going to take a lot of resources as far as money, it sounds like, um to me. I guess
Well,
uh,
well, a lot of those
what
countries have their own natural resources. You see what I'm saying?
right,
So
right.
in other words, if you went in and helped them, say, okay, well then you would have rights to their mining. So see, you go in
Mhm,
there
mhm,
mining, and then you put up a refinery. You help them
mhm,
set up refinery, so they could finance
mhm,
themselves or
mhm, mhm,
whatever you
mhm,
give them,
mhm.
so they have the natural resources to get back. So there's ways. That's how China's doing. They're getting
Gotcha.
all those raw
Yeah, that makes
minerals,
sense.
okay, and they're going to refine them. How you think they
Mhm,
do it? How you think everybody else is doing it? They do it
mhm,
with raw
mhm,
minerals. You go in there
mhm,
and you get your raw earth and you get it taken care of. And so, of course, it's going to be cost, but there's a way to balance it all out. And then once it's
mhm,
provided, once that's actually just to build the infrastructure, okay, and then the minerals help pay for it. And then once it's built, and then the product services kind of help pay for themselves and take care of their own people, and then eventually they'll be able to make a living on with whatever you're doing.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
But anyway,
I gotcha. I gotcha.
yes, of
So
course, it's going to everything costs. Even when you build a house, you got
yeah,
to pay your mortgage, or nothing would happen.
so that brings me to another question, kind of a bigger question. And again, I wish I had more than a week to prepare and get some political knowledge and how this all
Uh,
works. But I know that there's a lot of concern right now, right? In the way that the world is going, and one of the big issues is a global digital currency.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, and where do you stand on that?
Oh man, let me tell you what, that Bitcoin, that's something because I had experience with it. You go down, you want to buy, whether it's online, however you when you buy it, they got the fees on it. It's just ridiculous. For instance, I go down, take some cash. I want to get some Bitcoin, right?
Mhm,
Okay, it cost me $17. I'm going to say I want to buy $100 in Bitcoin. I go down there, give them $100. You don't get $100 back in Bitcoin. They almost take out $20.
mhm,
Okay, so you get like $83 back in Bitcoin. Okay. All right. Now you come back and then you start using that. So every time you use it, there's another dollar something. You still get to the credit card is the way to go. The credit card's got it going on. That Bitcoin, it would be good for the loose change. Okay. All the pennies and the nickels, fine. Let's do, maybe even the dime. Do the pennies, the nickel, the dime, and then keep the quarter and on up in the dollar, because it's nothing but fines and fees and just ridiculousness. And it's sketchy when you got to send that thing.
You're talking specifically about Bitcoin. I'm talking more about
digital currency.
The idea that
that's part of it too, right?
Yeah.
To digitally pay people. Right.
Well, I mean, we've had credit cards for years, and I think a lot of people. I mean, I know there have been times in my life where I only had credit cards in my wallet, and basically it was like a digital currency, and which is why I think it's interesting that people are so afraid of it, because it's kind of been that way anyway, right? I mean, all of your assets are stored in a bank, in a computer, and it's all digital anyway. But I guess the idea of the government being more involved in every transaction that is attached to the currency is what people are afraid of. So I guess I'm not talking.
I mean,
so much
it was set up.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's digital. It was, but I mean, that was just my experience on digital. But that's set up for people to make large purchases, whether they're buying corporations or doing something. I mean, I guess it'd be okay for the average person. And we use it anyway. But you still got to have money somewhere. You got to get your paycheck. You got to put it in. You see what I mean? You can't stick it inside your phone, right? What are you going to do when you get your paycheck? You see what I mean?
But there's a lot of,
if you get digital credits. So you see what I mean? The person you're working with, they would have to transition over. So they would pay you digitally. You know what I mean? And then still you go, and then the people that haven't developed it yet, say you want to go to somewhere else that doesn't accept it yet. So I mean, it's a slow transition, but it's all new. And like you said, a lot of people are afraid of it. I say it's good and bad, and it's transition, and it'll probably end up being like that, but it's going to take more technology and more understanding, and they'll have to simplify it where people could use it and understand it more. So
right. Well, I mean, so I know there's talks though between the governments of many countries about having a global currency and having it be digital. And I think that's where a lot of people start talking about. And again, I didn't want to get too deep into like New World Order and those kinds of things. But so the United States, there aren't plans to go digitally completely. Cash is, I mean, it seems like cash is a dying thing to me. That's what it seems like, or at least that's what the media makes it seem like.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's dirty. It could spread COVID. And it could be stolen easily. Robbers come in, they have to use drop boxes. So yeah, it's old, it's dirty. It could be ripped off very easily. So there is a lot of goods, but like I said, and then doing that too, you get your funds seized. And then if electronics and something happens, you know what I mean? Right. If there's a hacker, there are a lot of hackers. So you're making yourself vulnerable to being hacked. And not only that, people could seize your funds. You're getting a lawsuit or a pinch, and next thing you know, your bank accounts are frozen and then your money's gone. So, there would have to be more safeguards, more rules put into place saying, all right, if this happened, this is kept it legislated out, make it easy to use and understand, and make it where there'll be guidelines for people to follow. Right. And then get people to understand it more and make it safe and easy and convenient. And there probably will be like that.
Okay.
But anyhow.
Okay. Again, I'm not super qualified to even go deep into these conversations. Just really surface level kind of.
But I mean, but that's right now. That's the least of the average person's problems. Whether it's currency, digital, or whether it's what I mean. That's more of a global issue, how they want to handle currency, move money, because the corporation, the Brinks truck, they bring it in, they got to guard it, they got stores, they're moving it. It takes a lot of security, and they move the money's heavy and dirt, like I said. So it's more of a corporation thing to help service and maintain them, and not more for the average person. And it's not taking care of our problems, really.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's kind of need to do that, but not really for the average person.
So anyway. I'm gonna change up the speed here a little bit. just so we can kind of close out the show maybe on a good note. Not that this wasn't a great conversation. I really appreciate your time and explaining to me, someone who's not very political, some of the things that you were explaining to me. But I do feel like the time that we're living in right now, there is a lot of fear, right, of a lot of different things, the economy, COVID, diseases, international relations, all sorts of things. What would you do as president to address that, to address the fear in the country right now, and the divisiveness?
Well, to take COVID seriously, to take COVID very seriously, and not only that, we need to start making our own vaccines. Stop depending on other countries,
Mhm,
and
mhm,
also do your research because a lot of those vaccines come with adverse reactions, especially for the young, the infants, or our
mhm,
elderly. So do your research on your vaccines. But
mhm,
anyway, practice social distancing. Because some people out there, they don't care. They'll go to the store sick or they'll go to work sick, and
mhm,
that'll still continue to spread it. This is a serious disease. It's a serious matter. We
mhm,
need to put
mhm,
a better infrastructure in here at home for our COVID. We need to make better vaccines and also let the people be careful. Do your research on your vaccines. Make sure you're getting the vaccine that's right for your body. Go and research it. Say how many reactions people may have had on it. The information's out there. It's not
mhm,
easily, but you can research it. Use your phone. Google's
mhm,
pretty good about that.
mhm,
And
mhm,
just keep moving in that direction because we want to stay safe and healthy. And we want to have our own vaccines here that are readily available. And not
mhm.
only that, because we're importing a lot. We make a certain percentage here, but I'd like to see us make at least twice what we're making on
So,
that.
having said that, I've got a little bit of a challenge for you. Um, you're saying that kind of, you got to do your research, that some vaccines may not be the best, and some are reliable. How does that affect the idea of vaccine mandates?
Well, it is what it is.
Mhm,
You don't want to continue to make vaccines that aren't working for people that are
mhm,
causing reactions and causing things to happen. The mandates that's that's laws and rules and regulations. You
right.
still have to continue to build your infrastructure, whether it's a mandate or not. That's just you're just
Well,
getting
so
politically, you know.
right. So if you're saying though that, like, let's just say, let's
Right.
say there's three choices for vaccines and two of them are not so reliable, and you're saying you do your research and make sure you take
Right.
that one that's the good one. But there's a mandate in place, and maybe some people can't choose what that is.
Well,
You know
yeah,
what I
like you
mean?
said, like your Medicare, right? They only
Mhm,
provide a
mhm.
certain. Oh, so then
Right.
you would say, all right, well, I
You got
just
a lot of work
use
to
it.
do, Larry.
Yeah, you just do the right. But that's the way it is. People only give you so many choices,
Right.
and there it is. But just be careful with the shots you take. And if you're too wary of it, maybe you shouldn't take it at all. Maybe you just socially distant, especially if you're old, elderly, and if you only have a certain shot available,
Mhm,
and it may have reverse reactions. Don't
mhm,
take it.
mhm,
It depends. Every area is different, and the time it hits. You see what I'm
mhm,
saying?
mhm.
When it hits, what's available, and how you can get it, and what kind it is. Just
Right.
do your
Interesting.
research. You know what I mean? Because especially
Yeah.
if you're the elderly or the younger, you don't want to have accidental deaths and because it is out there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just you got to be
Absolutely.
careful. People got to be careful of their choices, especially when it
Helen.
comes to the vaccines because it's got a lot of side effects.
Yeah.
So you
Helen
have
is
to be careful what you're injecting into your arm.
Yeah, absolutely. Helen is saying it is what it is the
Yeah,
absolute most honest thing that anyone can ever say. Well
but
said. Very few would risk that honesty. It is a tough situation. But I think, going back to what you said, would address some of those issues, right? So if we were to bring manufacturing back into the United States and be in control of those vaccines, then we wouldn't have to worry that two are not so good and one is good, right? They would all be good, right? Is that what
well,
you're that's kind of what that's the
well,
best
they
case
improve,
scenario.
right? Absolutely, and they say there's a lot of, you know, it depends, what you hear out there. Sometimes it's skeptical. They say, well, this one's bad or good. You know, it might be more bad than they're saying. So that's why it's always just better for the individual to you know, use the best judgment. But yeah, you'd have more control over it. You'd have more control. Okay, because like if China's got a bad vaccine or Russia, whoever's making it, you think they're just, oh, it's perfect. Go ahead and use it. And then we buy all this stuff, bring it over here, and next thing you know, all these first reactor people are dropping dead away. Ain't nobody going to say nothing. They don't care. So over here, we're making it. People are going to know. Our own scientists, our own people in the labs are going to, hey, wait a minute, this ain't good. I ain't going to be putting my friends and my neighbors and my kids' arms. Okay, right now you got it over there. How do you know that? How do you know? Don't you know? Do you see what I'm talking about? That's why we need to make our own meds kind of important. We need our own medicine, our own infrastructure. It's a threat to our national security. I'd rather have our own doctors and physicians, pharmaceutical people making it right here. So, hey, we'll know. We got these guys, they're making this, and them the 80s. Hey, they'll know if it's good or bad, and they'll make adjustments. Right now, you don't know what you're putting in your arm because it's coming from somewhere else.
Right. No, that's very true. It is what it is, goes without saying, does it not? And I think it does go without saying, but I think Larry was saying it because I was asking questions that it's just like there's no answer. It is what it is the answer, you know.
Oh yeah.
So, so
absolutely.
That's really, and Tim is out there saying it should always be left up to personal choice, and I'm going to personally agree with that. Yeah, I'm going to personally agree with that for sure. Well, Larry, this was really interesting for me because I have never even delved my toes into the water of politics, and I feel like I at least was dangling my feet in the water a little bit tonight with you and learning a little bit. And I mean, you do seem like a good guy. I mean, I love the story. A hardworking guy who, again, how could you go wrong with that? Somebody who got their hands dirty, knew what it was like, lived on the side of not having much, and worked hard to have what you have, and to go through that and see what it takes. You probably experienced a lot of different walks of life. Let's just say that. So I certainly wish you the best of luck. I'm going to do a little bit of research. I think a couple of people who are here tonight are going to check out your website and your videos and your policies. So I think we accomplished our mission, which was just to get a couple of people to know who you are. Thank you so much for being here. And again, if you like what you heard or you're interested, the website right there, azevedoforpresident.com. Kudos, man. Kudos. Like, it's like to actually have a conversation with someone who isn't like just joking about running for president, but actually is going for it. I mean, that's great. And thanks, Larry. Good luck. Thank you, Larry. We're getting thank yous from everybody for being here. And how's the water? I'm not really sure what that means.
It could be hotter. Remember, it's not what's made in America, it's what's missing in America.
Awesome. That's a good tagline.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you folks for being with us tonight. And thank you, Larry. I don't have a guest lined up for next week, believe it or not. I may dipping my toes in the water. My mom was asking me how's the water when I said I dip my toes in the political water. She was asking me about that. Now
up to you. You want to get some questions? You want to come back and put me on the hot seat? Feel free.
You know what?
If I got a time slot,
I might take you up on that.
You know what I mean? If you get some people that are interested, and your mom or somebody else get some questions, something else you want to know, I like to be tested. I want to be put on the spot.
Awesome.
That's who I am. I'm going to give it to you straight. I'm going to give you the answer that I know best. You know what I mean?
I love it. Well,
I'm sure there's things out there that may not be too familiar with, but I know we need to help the average American worker with their problems and how things are and some of our infrastructure. I know the things we need to do.
We all need to.
There it is. There.
Absolutely.
Right.
Tim is saying he forgives you for being a 49ers fan.
I inherited them through marriage. That's my wife. So I just put it up there. Put it up there for her. It's her team. They're all right.
You know what? But then anyway, kudos for supporting your wife. Then we can appreciate that.
Yeah. She's outside listening on her phone right now. She's not happy because she's not in the house on the big screen. She's because I'm doing this interview. So yeah, I'm in the hot water for that one. But
invite her back in. You're off the hook.
Hopefully they're winning.
Yeah,
All
thanks
right.
again. And we'll see you soon, Larry. Take care.
All right.
And
Thank
we'll
you.
see you guys next week. All right.
All right.
Take care.
You
Take
bet.
care, everybody.